Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and disembodied voice, Justin, and Kiri. We have no David today. I hope you're all doing good on this Tuesday. We are firmly into the week now. There's no backing out. Hello, 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 hello. Hey, everybody. Hey, GVD. Haven't seen you for a while. And Fontana, thank you for the sub. We are slowly climbing. I think we must be getting near to 50 soon, Justin, in our subtotal.
Yeah, I believe we're at, because last time we talked, we were at 38.
Mm-hmm.
And we've since then added 8, if
Yeah.
my calculations are correct. So yes, that puts us by standard math at 46.
Yeah, including M. Fontana's, who just tossed it to us.
So correct, for 47.
All right. So, M. Fontana, congrats on the year, by the way. 12 months.
Yes, that's awesome. Thank you guys for supporting all of my efforts and Anne's efforts. Anyone who's done the show for
Nomad
that long,
Zeke.
that's
Nomad Zeke
special.
with the superstitious to put us at 48. The superstitious sub. 13 months.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, let's just talk and chat. I'm in a painting mood today, guys. So we're dragoning. We're dragoning. We were dragoning yesterday. We're gonna dragon more today. My green didn't mix up quite the way I remembered it, but I'm okay with that. I actually took a chance and just cleaned out my palette and figured I could recreate everything today. I'm close. That's all that matters. I think it's the right color. Fun. I actually probably did like a 4 and 2 instead of a 4 and 4, so that was my my little, like, I'm looking at my color, my green color, going, that's not quite right. Though I can see it, so I guess it is quite right. Just gonna pop it a little closer to leaf bud. Yeah, sometimes, as long as you know what colors you used to mix something up, and in this case I somewhat violated my normal dictate, which is normally I'm like, don't mix more than 2 colors if they're weird colors, like oh, Hype Train, thanks guys. Oh, thanks New Encode, thanks for the sub. And there's gift subs, crazy gift subs. Yes, thank you for the crazy gift subs. Val, you can write it down if you want, but I've never needed to. When I'm working on a thing from day to day, I remember my ratios pretty well if I'm going to mix 2 colors. If you're only mixing a color and white, then you're fine. And if you want to mix 2 colors plus white, that's fine. I just don't recommend mixing more than 2 like odd bottle colors normally, and I am this time. I'm actually mixing 3 different greens to get my my base lettucey green that I wanted, my soft green. Just cause I felt like it. Which means that even with 3, I mean, I remember that I only had 1 drop of cat's eyes, so. But yeah, the smart thing to do for those of you who are not as good at remembering colors as me is to write down what you use, of course. Let's see here. I want to get closer. I want to get in focus. Let's get our fingers in here to make the camera focus better. Otherwise, it wants to focus on other things. The smartest thing, as far as I'm concerned, is to take a picture of all your colors and make a note on a sticky note nearby of how many drops of each you used. That way you've got it in your phone memory. Maybe I was right the first time, though. Well, I don't mind this green. It's not bad. Yeah, especially because I'm going to get more saturated with other parts of the dragon. So I thought about actually tossing in some phthalo green on this guy. But now that I look at him again, I think maybe the ancient oak is good enough for a cool tone. Thanks for the cheer. Thanks for the bit cheers. We're at a level 2 hype train. Thanks, guys. That put us over. All right, so let's just go 1, 2, 3. Getting some of my ancient oak mixed up. Which I want to use 8 drops of fluid at least in my wells to keep the paint good, so remember that. So in this case I put 4 drops of ancient oak, and then I put 4 drops of water. That gets our paint to around a layering consistency. Oh, that reminds me. I should plug that. So for those of you who are not, oh good, I was about to say there's my my reminder there. Oh, thanks for the gift subs, Margaret. But Lady Dyer has reminded me, or provides an excellent opportunity for me to tell you guys about the stuff I put on my Patreon yesterday. So if you're not on my Patreon, it is patreon.com/paintingbig. And yesterday I put up the free PDF that I said I was going to put up for my class that I taught for ReaperCon. So that was Thinning MSP Paints was the class. And I told people that I would put my notes up as a free PDF, free to the public, so you don't have to be a patron to go access it. So that went up yesterday, and it actually turned out to be kind of a beefy little PDF, like 3 or 4 pages long, because I give you some notes. Because I'm never able to write something like, short. So if you are not a patron, you may scamper over, and grab that PDF. No problem. It's going to remain free to the public, just like the class itself is free to the public. And that's up on the Reaper YouTube, right, Justin?
Which one?
The one on Twitch, the Thinning MSP Paints.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So you could go over to the Reaper YouTube and you can watch that class if you were unable to tune in during ReaperCon. Essentially, it puts examples, visual examples, to all the stuff the ratios that I'm giving you in the write-up. So, pardon me while I get my yellow mixed up. Mr. Dragon really wants his yellow, and he also wants his orange, so I'm going to mix that up. But yeah, I'm putting a lot of drops of water in this paint because I want it rather thin. And my orange is very vibrant, and yesterday I knocked it down, I think, with some Old West Rose. We'll see what I do today. I'm being very painterly with this project, so I'm not really keeping super track of what I'm doing, which I don't recommend unless you're, used to mixing and kind of, going off the top of your head. But I'm using the same colors. So I'm using the new Leaf Bud Green that's out with Bones 5. I'm using the new Lotus Orange that's out with Bones 5. And I'm using NMM Gold Highlight for my yellow. But I am going to add a little more saturation in. As with watercolors, as we build up our layers, I want to add in a little bit of stronger yellow, especially on these gems. So I do want a little bit of lantern. I'm going to be very cautious with it. I'm going to put it in a separate well so that I can just add a touch here and there. I need to think about what shadow I want for my gems, too. And I was thinking kind of like amber for these guys. Hey, Twistoma, how's it going? So that means I want to go down with, like, kind of an orange-brown. So I'm thinking kind of maybe harvest brown, if I can find it. I think I keep it around... Harvest? Yeah, you Harvest. And maybe polished leather, like... One of them is more yellow, and one of them is more orange, and darker, so, yeah, I don't know. I'll put them both down, maybe we'll play with them. Polished leather, might be just a little bit too light. I really want something that's, gonna let me build a deeper orange. Harvest brown, a lot of people don't use it, because it's, not one of the, like, it's more of a transparent brown, but it's also really useful when you need these warm shadows on oranges and yellows. Because it's so saturated, that's what leads it to be a little bit more see-through, is that it's got more transparent pigments in it than your usual brown. So it does, not to say that it has crap coverage, it's not bad at all, but it's, it's not one of your super high coverage browns. I'll show you my palette in a second. I think I want that real thin, so I'm going to put that 1-to-1. Choo-choo hype train, yes. Well, I only loosely call this watercolor style, though. I mean, I am covering over quite a bit of it, and I am also going to cheat and add white in. Although, it seems to me like my favorite watercolor painters have no problem using white gouache to bring back highlights if they lose them. So, some people say it's cheating, some other people may say that it's just keeping your sanity. All right, let's go back up. Let's get my palette down here. There we go. But yeah, I'm starting the way that this resembles watercolors is that we are definitely starting light, and that we are adding in darker and more saturated tones as we go. Except for my lining here, obviously, which is more of an acrylic technique. It's not really a watercolor technique. But we're keeping it real pale, and we're just slowly increasing, we're painting in shadows instead of painting in a dark tone and then building up to highlights. Like, if I had started with like a mixture of our Ancient Oak and, say, Cat's Eye Green, and then highlighted all this, so we'd be getting a very different effect than going over white primer with pale colors and instead shading down. So if you want this more delicate and lighter, overall lighter looking color scheme, it's much easier to start light and paint in your shadows than it is to try to bring that up from a darker or medium base coat. So it just doesn't give you quite the same look. Your base coat really does matter. I mean, otherwise underpainting wouldn't work in acrylics, If, Kiri, settle down. like underpainting, I mean like painting white before you paint yellow, and you get a much better yellow base coat then. Things like that. Things like that in acrylics would not work if this wasn't a thing. So I'm just trying to shade around the little eye there. I want to get that a little more crisp. I want to get that lower lid a little more crisp. Yeah, if you're not cheating, it's not painting. Yeah, Kuranico. This is the dragon colors. I want to do a kind of autumnal forest dragon, gemstone dragon. I decided I wanted to mix the stream, cross the streams. Forest dragon plus gemstone dragon equals autumnal forest gemstone dragon. So yeah. So I think I might bring my greens in a little bit stronger, but we'll see. Keeping him, I want him kind of pale. I don't normally do this style with a very pale, light, delicate color, but I like it. So I decided I would do it. I'm channeling my inner Stephanie Law or other, great watercolor painters. But yeah. So this is the way I want to rock right now. And here is the Harvest Brown, which is a very orange brown. There, you can see it. Now, Harvest Brown plus Lantern Yellow really does make a beautiful orange. So this is what I'm thinking for the shadow for the gems. And it is a little bit more intense. So let's mix in a little bit of if we mix in a little bit of our Lotus, it gets even more orangey. So that, I think, was going to be a decent, these guys, this combo here, all these three together, and I can bleach it out if I want with putting a little NMM gold highlight in it, because that's going to add white to it. I can essentially tweak this until I like the color, but I think I am going to want some deeper and more vibrant colors as I do these gemstones. Yeah, Harvest is a nice orangey brown, and it's great for mixing orangey brown, like shadows for oranges and yellows. It is lovely that way. I like it a lot. Can be a good shadow for copper, NMM copper as well. I mean, tarnished copper is pretty good. I think that this is a little bit browner than tarnished copper, if I recall correctly. Just going to try to mix up these paints, keep them open. I want them all to be open so I can play, just like mixing up paints on your palette. If you're like James Gurney or Bob Ross, you want to have the colors open so that you can just grab a little touch of something if you want to. So we're being very freeform lately. Very freeform with this. There we go. Got my orange. All right, so from my main colors there. So this is a mixture of Goblin Green from Pathfinder, or Medusa, sorry, it's Medusa, not Goblin. We decided not to use Goblin, it was too olivey. I think that my ratio I ended up with was about 2 or 3 drops of Medusa Green and about 5 or 6 drops of the Leaf Bud. So about, like, maybe, I want to say a 1 to 1.5 mix of these guys. And then I dropped a drop in of Cat's Eye also because I wanted it just a little more saturated, a little more intense. I'm going to thin it down a lot. These greens are not the highest coverage greens as it is, so to keep the delicacy over the white primer, if I add a little more water, I can build up layers of this. This is Cat's Eye Green, which is the most vibrant green I'm using. Cat's Eye is a green I don't normally use. Normally I reach for Naga because it's more intense, but since we're using a more muted out greens palette, Cat's Eye is a nice compromise. It's not as bright as Naga or as dark, and it's got a bit of ochre in it. I really was thinking about green Cat's Eyes. My cat, my old cat Panther, Mama-san's son. He was a black cat with green Halloween eyes. So I was really thinking of his eyes when I made this color. So great for painting kitty eyes, green kitty eyes. And then Ancient Oak is my coldest and most muted color in the scheme. So actually, if you look at these colors, they're not like incredibly muted. Like I've got some fairly bright tones in here. It's just not screaming eyeball bright, right? I'm not reaching for the emerald green, for the phthalo green, for the, for all of those greens that are really, really saturated, dragon green. I don't want that. I want more of a leaf green. Yeah, the NMM coppers, I mean, the verdigris is dead on, and so is the highlight, and the tarnished copper is a really good base. The tarnished copper is just useful for a whole bunch of different things in Aura. Like, I use tarnished copper for not copper all the time. But the one thing you will want to do is add like russet brown or blackened brown if you want really tarnished in there. So if you're using those coppers for a big surface like armor and you need a darker shadow, which you probably will, I usually use russet brown for that, $91.99. But you could use like blackened brown. You need a medium dark brown with a lot of orange or yellow in it, essentially, is what you need. Let's see here. So just want to kind of touch up around my eyes here. I want to do the other side of his face. I do need a lighter color, so I need to mix the green highlight that I made yesterday, which is pretty much taking my leafy green and adding some white or some Osirian sand to it. Remember, Osirian sand is in our palette as well. And at this point, I need to make that mix. So let's just go ahead and do it. But yeah, so anybody with any questions or comments about my color scheme or anything, go ahead. Oh, I was going to tell you about my Patreon. So other than having a free PDF up for my class that I taught at ReaperCon, I also finally finished for the $5 tier the black and white PDF. So this is essentially a PDF that talks about the differences between different blacks in Reaper and different whites and also different off-whites. Covers a few of the off-whites and a few of the off-blacks. So this is a handout I've been asked for a long time, and this is commonly asked questions also here on the streams that I do, both my own stream and this stream. So if you've wondered and you're a patron, head on over and $5 tier and up, you can download that black and white PDF. Twitch could be twitchy today. It would be up to
I'm noticing too. Actually, it's dropping on my end a little bit, so it could be could be your internet. Your internet could be experiencing issues right now.
Here, hold on. Yeah, it could be because well, it said I dropped frames, but like 17 minutes ago, right when we started. So my OBS is only telling me it was a while ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. So it could be Twitch, could be whatever. Or our internet could be a little rocky. It normally doesn't drop frame rates. So maybe I'm getting frame rate drop, but not enough to pop that alert box up. I don't know. So now we're building a lighter green here for our highlights with Osirian sand because I like my Osirian sand. And I'll also put some this is a wonderful pale yellow. I'll put some of this in my palette too. So we've got a lot of different colors that we're just playing around with on this dragon. I believe I was also using a little bit of russet brown yesterday to mix with our Osirian sand and get our bone color. So just got a lot of great autumnal, like start of autumn colors. So this is very, of course, appropriate since we are, is it the 22nd today? Yes, this is the first day of autumn. So there we go. Happy first day of autumn, everybody. Pagan holiday for the win.
Love it.
Yes, exactly.
And here it's like 75 and rainy. So
there you go. It's fall weather in Texas, or early fall weather in Texas anyway. All right, so palette established. I'm remembering to use my crappy synthetic mixing brush today, notice. I'm not screwing up my my good brushes. So super cheapo crappy synthetic, and because it has a very large a lot of bristles, it actually mixes the paint super fast. So it's the nice thing about using a larger brush to mix your paint, and it is what the using the butt end of your brush doesn't do, because you've got all those bristles, and yeah, you lose a little more paint to the rinse water jar, but worth it. You're not going to use all your paint anyway, almost never. Okie dokie. Now we are to the point where I can highlight under his eye and work on the other side of his head. Because really, this is like, well, he's got a couple of good poses. This is one of his good pose angles. And then that's another good pose angle. This is probably the best pose angle, just because it gives you the wing and it gives you all of this. But this is the easier side of the head to paint, so that's why I started on this. Because over here, it's going to be a little harder, because as you can see, the wing blocks the light there. So when I work on it over here, I'll use my overhead light on my camera for you guys. The video for paint thinning from ReaperCon is up, Robin. Like, it should be up in all the ReaperCon videos should be up on our YouTube, right?
Oh, no. Those are not up yet. I'm sorry. I thought you were referring to the other one that we did. The other one that we did. No,
No.
the ReaperCon videos are not up because I'm making highlight videos of those.
Oh, but okay.
They
I th
are viewable on Twitch though.
Are they still
All of
on
it's
VOD?
it is up.
Okay, it's still
Yeah,
on
they'll
VOD. All
be on
right.
VOD for the next 3 months. Yeah.
All right, all right. Because that was my worry, because I'm, sitting here promoting this stuff, and if we don't have our ass together yet, then I need to know
No, no,
so I
no.
don't promote it.
It's
I was
absolutely up on the VODs right now.
okay, but it's not up on YouTube. So, guys, the PDF is incorrect. I thought for sure it would be up on YouTube by now, but I was wrong. So ignore that VOD thing. Ignore the me saying it's up on YouTube. That'll be accurate down the road. But
Yeah, I was
it's
trying
not
to avoid
accurate
just
right now.
taking the blobs of 8 to 12 hour programming and just throwing it on YouTube. I'm trying to
Well,
snip
yeah.
it up so that people can see individual stuff.
I just hope that, yeah, oh yeah, snip it up so that the class is its own thing. I didn't realize that you hadn't, I guess you would have had to start and stop the stream if you had done that, so it makes sense that you would have to snip it up after and not during. So I am coming in with my Osirian sand and relightening my area up here, which is, of course, the wonderful thing you can do with acrylics. That's a little bit harder than watercolors, because your watercolors would reactivate right about now. I should paint a mini in gouache and show you guys how much a pain in the butt it would be. I wonder if gouache would work. Like, technically, gouache would probably not want to set very well on primer. Technically. It likes paper. It likes to soak in. Gouache is the medium in that's closest to our paint consistency, guys, and what we do. Gouache is opaque watercolor. So that tells you why we use watercolor brushes for miniature painting. For high-end miniature painting. These Kolinsky sables. I want to get my orange in here a little bit stronger. Maybe bring it down these struts a little bit. Oh yeah, for sure. I just, for some reason, I thought it had already been done. I thought that was what had been worked on already. I was surprised. But that's fine. Just go to Twitch.
Unfortunately, my efforts have been on finishing the studio, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, hopefully we have those VODs up, or those videos done by the time it drops off of Twitch anyway. Hopefully Ed gives you time for those.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, because we're partnered, it'll take 3 months, so that's not a worry. But the organization of it is absolutely what I want, for sure. So, like, if they wanted to go see your class, because yours is done via what I call a drop transition, they will be able to find your class, like, both beginning and end from the stream, because it looks like it's a separate stream.
Okay.
As far as, like, during the day. So they should be able to go and watch already snipped out, kind of, like, conveniently your show.
Okay.
So
good deal. Good deal.
Your class, I mean, just like David's class. Basically, anyone who didn't run through my run through like Zoom for us for a class, this should be their own separate VOD.
Good deal. Excellent. Well, you guys should be able to find it then. That's all I care about, is that you can find it, it's out there, and then that PDF will make sense. Because, it helps to see the actual consistencies that I'm getting when I'm doing those mixing. That's why I did it kind of together. Sadly, I'll have to amend that post to make sure that people aren't just coming to it randomly and looking for something on YouTube that's not there yet. That's all right. I can do that. That's easy. Yeah, I like this orange a lot. I mean, it started out as a prototype salmon, and it actually was David's color. This is David's color, guys. Like, when he came to visit Reaper for one of the Reaper cons, I asked him if he wanted to see how I mixed colors, and I asked him what color we didn't have in the line that he kind of wanted, and he wanted kind of a saturated salmon-y color, salmon orange. So we built it. So this is, I tweaked it a little bit afterwards, but this is David's color. Oh, and thanks for continuing that gift sub, Grim. We call it fall because leaves fall. Yep, exactly. But I like fall. It's one of my favorite seasons for starting things, which might seem weird. Like, most people seem to think of, like, January or springtime for starting new things. But I have a lot of luck starting new things in fall. Like I've always had a lot of luck with weight loss in fall and other projects. It's NaNoWriMo, so writing is big for me in fall. Trying to get a bunch of projects actually finished so that I can focus on NaNoWriMo when October gets here, or November. So anybody who wants to...
It's actually quite an accomplishment to accomplish weight loss during the fall, because that's actually the time that most people will end up basically gaining a lot of weight back.
Yeah.
You're in like the 1 percentile there. That's good.
Yeah, I don't know. I think just because I don't take all fall as like an excuse to eat more, like I tend to, I still peak out on the holidays, but I don't peak out all around the holidays, and usually I start, like I have a lot of luck starting in like a new exercise resolution in fall, because though, at least in Texas, the weather's cooler, and of course it's cooler here in California too. It's beautiful walking weather right now. So I kind of use that as the impetus to start stuff. And then once I get it into a habit, by the time fall is starting to turn to winter, it's nailed in as a habit, so I can continue it through the winter months. So it's actually in summer when I have the hardest time losing weight, which is odd, but seems to be the case out here in California also. But yeah, fall is a good time for me to start projects. It seems like whenever I start a D&D game, it's in fall. Whenever I'm like setting a D&D game, the start of something, it's in fall. I don't know. Fall is just that way for me. Yeah, Zero. That's for sure. Yeah, I think that's why my exercise projects work. And I don't mind walking in the rain either. I love the rain. So if it's a rainy fall, then it's actually like not a discouragement for me. I'm just trying to like kind of refine my colors up here on the top of his head, guys. I want a nice blend, a nice fade from the orange, the green to the orange, which is not a usual blend. So I'm just working on it with my Osirian sand and my Lotus orange and my base green, and trying to get it to kind of look pretty, like a leaf that's turning in the fall. And I gotta probably put just a little bit more yellow, but I don't have to. Sometimes leaves turn from green to orange, and they don't go through a yellow stage. It's all in which plant you're dealing with, so I want some of that unusual transition thing going on with Mr. Dragon here. Tomorrow I think we're going to work on Ship's figurehead. This is Bones 5 week, I've decided, for the most part. I may swap over and do something else later in the week, but I think it's going to be mostly Gemstone Dragon and Ship figurehead today. Oh, I wanted to get closer again. That's right. There we go, so you guys can see what I'm doing. Actually, weirdly, Francis, that is not true. I have read. In reality, at least in northern climes, because of the growing season, we all tended to lose weight in the winter. What we gain weight from is lots of sugars, like in summer and fall when the fruit trees are ripe. Like when we get that, and obviously corn in the fall in summer and fall here in the Americas. But sugars will definitely will cause you to put on weight. And winter, when food was more scarce, historically, as far as our biology goes, I have read that we actually used to fast a lot more in the winter months because, well, food just wasn't as abundant, whereas our ancestors tended to pig out more in the peak harvest seasons when there was a lot of food available. So that's weird. So I have heard that as far as study goes, as far as the food. I mean, if food is available in winter, yeah, absolutely, our biology probably works against us, right? Then, because we're used to fasting, but then we're not, right? We're doing the opposite. So maybe both are true in that case. That makes sense, where your biology may be used to fasting in the winter, but then we have all these wonderful foodie holidays in the winter now because food isn't no longer scarce. And so instead of kind of going on maintain mode, we're just like going, oh no, here, have some fruit. Here, have some cherry apple pie. Yeah, I am off white sugar. Actually, well, I'm back on keto in RS, so yeah. Yeah, it does. I mean, I have to admit, I sleep better without white sugar, and lots of carbs. So actually, I can't say totally off. I still have my Alter Eco chocolate, my Blackout. Blackout is the 85% cocoa one, though, so that it's less than 1 gram of carb per square of chocolate. Some people are grossed out by that chocolate just because it's so darn bitter compared to what most people like, but I love it. It's my save. It's my chocolate savior for being on keto. Oh, and they just put out mint Blackout. Holy crap, I'm so thrilled. It's so good. It tastes like a really hardcore Thin Mint. So anybody who likes the really super dark chocolate, check out the Alter Eco Blackout if you haven't, and then check out mint Blackout, which is brand new, I think. They had another mint dark chocolate one that I was always kind of tempted, but it wasn't low carb enough, and now they've got the Blackout version. I was like, oh yeah. Yeah, I don't eat fruit because keto. Except for berries. Berries are allowed because they have such high fiber and relatively low carbs per their volume. So strawberries, raspberries, and blueberries are still allowed. But I'm trying to eat more seasonally too. So I'm trying not to eat them when they're out of season, when they're, shipped in from God knows where, pumped full of chemicals to preserve them. Instead, we enjoyed eating a lot of seasonal berries this year during the springtime and summer. Pretty much if we can get it like locally in California fresh, then we'll eat it for the fruit. The one exception is plantains, because I do love, every once in a while, like if I'm going to have a cheat day and we're doing Cuban rice and beans, we do fried plantains, which is so good. But those obviously I can't usually find here in California. I have to grab them from Whole Foods, imported from somewhere. I wish plantains were more popular. They're so good fried up. Favorite keto dessert, Magnetic Gumby. I bake. And I still bake. So because I love baked goods, and especially Christmas cookies, when it's Christmas time, I learned how to keto bake with almond flour and coconut flour and all that stuff. So probably my favorite are like the Danish butter cookies that I make that are keto. Those things I could just eat forever. They're really good frozen too. You can make a lemony version, or I just usually make like an almond vanilla version. Putting just a little bit more dark here toward the front to bring out the details in his carapace. But I also make a pretty mean keto brownie, because brownies, of course, are great on keto. Yeah, mug cakes. Yep. Yeah, my keto brownie is actually a mug brownie, but I make it in a ramekin so that it's a square and I can cut it into little brownie bites. And that way, if I haven't done it yet this year, but it's that type of season starting today. Then I have brownie bites. I can just have a couple of little tiny brownie bites. They're like, I like tiny keto dessert because that way if I want something sweet in the day, I can have something, but it's only like 9 or 10 calories each. Like my Danish butter cookies are so tiny because I use a cookie press to make them. So they're like only like 10 calories each because I make them with erythritol instead of real sugar. And
yeah, I actually recently picked up some local organic honeycomb.
Ooh.
And I have not had honeycomb since I was like 10.
Yeah.
And it is the perfect like sweet treat because I just put one on like a singular Ritz cracker, like a little bit.
Right.
And it's so sweet that I eat one and
you're done.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Right. Yeah, that's if you're going to have a sweet treat. It's always the first bite that's the best anyway. I mean, let's admit it, right? So then we just keep eating it because our biology is like, right. Ooh, fatten us up for the winter. But, sugar makes us want to eat more generally. But yeah, it's nice when you can just have that one little bite. So yeah, that's why I like to make the tiny brownie bites and the tiny spritz cookies, Danish cookies. Because that's just like have 1 or 2 bites and you're done and you've only had like 20 calories and you still had a treat. So it's key. And of course now they make some keto ice cream with erythritol alcohol sugars instead of real sugar. I have to watch my stevia intake for some reason, but the alcohol sugars aren't as bad on my guts, so.
That is kind of odd.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I mean, they always recommend you don't have too much of anything, right? So I could see just kind of like not going too crazy on artificial sweeteners, but maybe it's that the erythritol I never use like straight up in drinks or anything. I always it's always mixed into baked goods. So when I do my muffins, because I do my morning keto muffin, various flavors. That's a flaxseed muffin with a little bit of almond flour added just to give it a little bit of texture and flavor and moistness. But yeah, so, but I don't know. Yeah, I found that stevia does affect some stuff, so I'm like, well, that's fine. I've just scaled back on my use of it. It's probably good not to eat so much sweet or drink so much sweet stuff anyway. So, all right, I do need to get my Old West rose, because remember we did a little bit of touches of rose around his mouth on this side to bring some warmth up into the front of his face, which I still really like. So I'm going to squeeze some of that color out. He's coming along. He's developing. He's starting to develop another side to his head. I didn't like it when I first started Saffirocco, but now I've gotten so used to the flavor that it's okay. I put 2 packets in my sparkling water to make a soda, and it's just barely sweet, and I like it that way. So, yeah, stevia definitely has a flavor that like David can't stand it, but then he's a full sugar, full carb carbivore. A breadivore. I call him a breadivore. Although, you know, when I was eating lower carb, he has learned to really like cauliflower rice. Because when I was low carb, I would just mix regular rice, a little bit of regular basmati rice into my cauliflower rice. And you really can't, at that point, you really can't tell the difference, I find. So you can lower your carbs a lot by doing that trick. But I like to pan fry the cauliflower rice after I nuke it to get the extra moisture out. It makes it taste so much better too. So all these life hack tricks. But yeah, he's not against my style of eating, and he really likes a lot of the things that I make that are very keto. But he definitely loves his bread. That boy will not give up his sandwiches for lunch. That's fine. To each their own. It's not like he's super overweight or anything, so I mean he can do it. He's one of the people who I think I've ever met that has such a great idea of when he's overeating and when he's not. Like, I've never really seen anybody kind of consciously put a stop to their eating just because, oh, well, I shouldn't overeat here. And he just stops, you know. He's very conscious of portions. He doesn't like just slam down food. I think it's the only thing that saved his waistline. That and he mostly does like the California diet, so lots of vegetables. Xylitol, yeah, no, xylitol is going to be worse, actually, Mighty Garrett. Xylitol is a stronger version of erythritol. So if methophile can't do the alcohol sugars, then it's actually going to be worse. And xylitol has the additional property that it is toxic to animals, highly toxic to animals. So if you have furries in your house, do not use xylitol. Go for erythritol, something like Swerve or sucrin powdered. Sucrin icing sugar is kind of the fake erythritol that I like that dissolves easily. But yeah, so be very careful with xylitol, especially if you've got it in any gum or anything like that. Anything that a dog could get at, it is highly toxic to them. Yes, exactly, Miss Imp. Yes, exactly. Quindy. Yeah, David's good at stopping himself. Like, he knows how much, like, he should be eating, and he's just gotten in the habit of eating that much. The only time we overeat is when we go out to a really nice restaurant, and then it's just like, well, okay, this is our sin night. We're just going to go crazy. Really interesting, Garrett. That's really interesting, considering it's definitely stronger than erythritol. I wonder if there's some processing thing with erythritol that sets you off. But hey, if it works for you, it works for you. Just be careful with it around your pets if you have them. Putting the shadow there under his eye to bring that out. Always, dragons tend to have these overhanging brows, so putting a dark shadow around the eye can really help to bring the expression out on the monster. Yeah, baked goods, butter and sugar for the win. But yeah, definitely a good idea to make sure that things get limited. That's where I'm bad in, I do love when fall hits, and it is now fall. I love to make my, my tasty baked goods, my keto baked goods. Which, that said, they are lower calorie than standard baked goods because I use the erythritol, so I can't feel too guilty. Gonna put just a little bit of shadow here behind the nose to bring it out. You can see I'm looking at the top here. If I want him to be grumpy, I should put more little lines here on his snout, but I don't really want him to be grumpy, so... But like when the face scrunches up, the more you emphasize the brows coming together and any scrunching up of the face, the more vaguely grumpy he's going to look. So since I accentuated his eyebrows, he's looking a little grumpier. Or maybe stern. I prefer to think stern. Yeah, I mean, that's how just how this is all sculpted, right? But I mean, that's how you do this sort of sculpt. So he's a very angular sculpt, so it's not surprised you're saying Gundam. Because, you know, this dragon is closer to a mecha than any other dragon. Because of all this, except for maybe Clockwork. Because of all of his angularity. Just gonna make sure I get that lower lid picked out with Osirian sand to make sure I don't lose it. It'll get colored green, a lighter green. Yeah. Always read about, if you're trying to diet, and you're looking at diet stuff though, do read about stuff like various sweeteners impact your blood sugar differently. And so if you're drinking diet soda but it's got like aspartame in it, aspartame I think triggers your blood sugar just like regular sugar, and that's what makes you retain weight a lot of the time, because it's going to provoke an insulin response, and insulin in your blood means build up weight, don't lose it. So pay attention to what sweeteners you use and what effect they have on you. Everybody's different. But be aware of that whole, like, you know, blood response thing. For weight loss, it's important. I just don't have anything these days with sucralose or aspartame. Hold on. Oh. Osirian sand may have a tiny touch of brown, but it's not nearly as brown as other, like if you look at it, it's very yellow. Kind of the same way that linen white is very yellow and not a very brown color. So if you compare it to something like creamy ivory, you can see the brownness in creamy ivory, and you can see mostly yellow in Osirian sand. So that's what I mean, is Osirian sand has a lot more yellow, and it's not going to mute things as well. You can use it to highlight greens with without bringing in much muted much muting from browns. Whereas if I was using creamy ivory, I would get a lot. I wouldn't stay as vibrant in my green and oranges as I would using this. Now it still has a lot of white, so it's going to tint your color and make it less vibrant just because of that. But in general. Yeah, I'm not a fan of aspartame at all. Oh yeah, I used to love sweet tea twisted oma, and then yeah, when I started trying to lose weight, I've pruned myself off sugar pretty well. I mean, I still like, it has to be a really good dessert. Like if it's a really, really good dessert, like we have two, being evil and living near the city center in Mountain View, we have two excellent patisseries right down the street, like 5 blocks away. Easy morning walk or evening walk distance. And so we do on occasion go in for one of their extremely fancy mini cheesecake desserts or some such, or mousses. There's one that they do, Alexander's does a London fog that's like kumquat, passion fruit, and Earl Grey tea mousse, and it's just really, really, really good. Oh my lord! So every once in a while, like my main rule though in losing all my weight, because I've lost over 60 pounds over the years, has been that I don't want to eat like a quote unquote healthy dessert, like if it's not very good. And the only time I really want to cheat that holds true for full sugar desserts too. Like, it's the only time I'm going to cheat is if it's something that's worth it, is pretty much what I decided. So it has to be really fantastic. Just run-of-the-mill, like, store-bought cookies and crap, that doesn't cut it. Has to be really good. And that ruling has helped me a lot. Just because, let's face it, a lot of the crap we eat isn't really that awesome after the first bite. It's not that great. So I hold out for the really good stuff. And just eat it once every month or something. Just gonna emphasize this little line around his nose. See, just a little. I'm bringing some ancient oak in. Gonna grab some cat's eye. Those are my 2 darker greens. And I'll mix them a little bit and get that nice blend where I want it. Just to pick out his nose a little bit, see? Bringing out details again. I do need to get his nostril. I did use brown liner on the other side of the mouth, so I have to think about that. I do need to put some water in my rose. Yeah, I make my own now, Inara, so it's like, it's just the other stuff. It's like, I make cupcakes instead of cakes because, well, I don't need a whole cake. Nobody does. And, the only thing we probably go overboard on is over, like, Thanksgiving if we're going to buy a pie. Then we have to eat the pie. So there will be several days of bad pie consumption as we eat the pie. But otherwise, you know, when you do that just for a few days a year and the rest of the time you're good, you're fine. I definitely don't beat myself up nearly as much as I used to over weight loss or lack thereof. I've gotten a lot more balanced attitude about it, where every day is just a new day, and, you know, just do the best I can every day. And beating myself up does not do anything except make me feel terrible when I, you know, really need to just keep a positive attitude and go back at it. So weight loss is not easy. You don't want to sabotage yourself. I think I went a little bit. Yeah, I went a little bit dark there. I really want this area on the face. It's actually flaring out, and it does have a little bit of an angle here, but you can still see it, so I still need a lighter green there. Yeah. Likes to work out, but won't turn on cookies. Yeah, that, you know, I'm kind of that same way, except that my cookies have to be low carb and, or it has to be a cheat day and we're going out for a wonderful dinner where I just cannot turn down the things afterwards. But once a month nice dinner ain't gonna kill me. Actually, we are so excited. Okay, so we are definitely, David is a foodie on a level that I have not dated before, but my inner foodie is being encouraged to come out. So we there is a single Michelin starred restaurant in Mountain View, and so we are going to our first, both of us, it's the first time ever going to a Michelin starred restaurant for my 6-month anniversary of being out here, which is October 7th. I'm super excited. Because, you know, we watch all these chef shows and stuff. We love high-end cookery. And yet I've never actually been to a Michelin-starred restaurant. Of course, they're super expensive, so it's definitely a special occasion kind of thing. But I'm excited to be in an area that actually has Michelin-starred restaurants, and that we are going to one. Yeah, actually, I just made pumpkin custard cheddar raven. Instead of doing, you know, crustless pumpkin pie, I found a pumpkin custard recipe, and it pretty much tasted just like excellent and super fattening pumpkin pie. Oh, dear. Yeah, you can't go in that. Clueless, that's the way you sabotage yourself. It's like, just because you made one bad mistake in a day, you can still salvage the day perfectly well. Just go ahead and eat well for the rest of it, because, you know, just be easy on yourself. Like, we're also tough on ourselves. On everything. Painting, diet, you name it. If we weren't so tough on ourselves, we'd be better able to just shrug off a single mistake in the course of a day and still be good. Still be good for ourselves. Probably the best, like, guideline that I ever read was the whole, you know, make a decision in line with the person that you want to become. So if you want to be the type of person who, you know, it's like if you want to lose weight, you want to be the type of person who, you know, doesn't eat this, or you always want to ask that question before you. It's like, well, if I would a person who's in good shape eat this, or would a person in this situation, you know, who's in good shape, you know, eat the extra piece of pie or whatever. Kind of use it as a barometer. That works for some people. It works for me. When you're really trying to change, because you do have to change a lot of your lifestyle sometimes to get past those diet things. I know my lifestyle is totally different now from when I was younger and very overweight. I'm still kind of wanting to lose, like I'm always within 20 or 30 pounds of my goal weight, which would I'd like to get down to 146, which would be exactly 100 pounds less than my top weight of all time. So we'll see. Yeah, you missed a couple months somewhere, right, Shadow Raven? Yep, I moved out here April 7th. That was my first day here in California. So yeah, it's... Yeah, oh yeah. Yes, absolutely. And it's supposed to be an amazing place, Twisted Doma. Like, they do... It's like a 7-course, like 3-hour dinner, and they don't tell you the menu ahead of time. You tell them what food allergies you have and stuff like that. And then they just do it, you know? And so every little plate that comes out in the 7-course dinner is going to be a total surprise for us, which is going to be awesome. I love that because I'm an adventurous eater. It's not for everybody, but I'm really happy. Yeah, time flies. Twitch time-space distortion ought to be a thing. Oh, Morimoto's. Yes, Morimoto's. I don't think he's got a Michelin star, the one in Honolulu, but I went to the one in Honolulu. I have the t-shirt because I love that restaurant so much I went back for a second night. But yeah, so unfortunately Michelin star is only like certain cities. But yeah, the Morimoto in Honolulu is a little more low-key, I think, because it's the Asian fusion version. I'd really like to go to the one in Manhattan, which is supposed to be very traditional Japanese, and that would be super fantastic. You want to be the kind of person who can eat it and still look good. Yeah, well, so... good luck. Lots of working out, then, is what it comes down to, Clueless. Let's see here. It took 2020 to get Anne out west. Yes, to get me back to the town I was born in. How about that? It took 2020 to get me out here. But you know, there was also this awesome guy, so that was a definite incentive. I'm just gonna block the nostril in with Ancient Oak, even though I do want to do it with liner. We're developing. So you notice I'm starting with the greens again, and then I'm going to start to work in some of these other colors around the greens. But I start with my basic greens, and then I ask myself where I want my color accents. So let's actually get some brown liner. That's what I was using the other day. Brown liner, where are you? There you are. Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah, it's a wonderful. Like, did they have the ribs, the Korean spare ribs, the sweet ones for the appetizers, and the lobster sushi? That's like the lobster sushi roll. That's an entire lobster tail inside the sushi roll. Is insane. I love Morimoto's. I wish I lived near one. No, I didn't. No, I don't, because I would go every week. It would be terribly tempting. So good. I was a fan of him on Iron Chef, so the chance to go to his restaurant was not one that I was going to turn down. We probably are going to take pictures of our food at the restaurant anyway, because David likes to share with his parents because they like their foodies also. He's from a foodie family. So they really appreciate good food as well. So he usually does take pictures for his parents. Whenever we make something like really tasty looking, or we go somewhere that has really good plating, he likes to take a picture. So we probably will have pictures of our food at this place. And also, I just like I want to help keep these really good restaurants afloat. Like, you know, a lot of them are in danger with COVID, so to patronize these every once in a while, though we can't afford it all the time, of course, but we can at least help them a little bit. Because I want these things to still be around after COVID. Like, I want really good restaurants to still be a thing near where I live. Yeah, so I'll share on my Discord. Probably for my patrons. I'll see if there's anything like super elegant. Oops, Justin's out of my ear. He tends to run away during the course of the there we go. Justin's back. But yeah, if we have any really pretty plating, I'd love to share. Food is fun. I think this is a little tight. Yeah, I need to thin my brown liner a little more. I just remembered I wanted a more subtle line. You know, I don't want a really harsh line. So thinning my brown liner almost 1-to-1. Probably 3 to 4. Water to paint. I never understood the appeal of looking. Well, sometimes food's just beautiful, Shadow Raven. Like, it's why I buy some fancy cookbooks. You know, some cookbooks, like Julia Child's cookbook, I bought entirely because I fully intended to cook a lot of things from it. But some cookbooks, I will admit, I have bought for the sheer beautiful photography. And nowadays, that seems to be expected in high-end cookbooks, so I'm very happy. I like having a guidance picture, I will admit, but, there, we got this his eye blocked in. Yeah, he definitely has an eye that's open a little wider, and this one's a little squintier, so it's kind of like he's giving you the eyebrow. Maybe I should arch that brow, suggest an arch to that side of the head to make him look like he's kind of like giving you the sardonic eyebrow. And I've decided this dragon is a boy. Yeah, no bad Zeke. The little corner bar thing I did for many, 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 many years. But sadly, the current diet, I just can't eat anything there anymore. Like that kind of place. Everything's like breaded or, you know, full of gluten. And I can no longer do that. My body has told me very strongly that I will end up in the hospital if I keep doing that. And beer, same. So, not wanting to be back in the hospital is a very strong motivator to change your lifestyle. At least for me it is. I know there are people out there, and I have met them, who proceed to, like, still do that stuff, even though it landed them in the hospital. I've never understood that mindset. I'm like, you know, if your body gives you a warning sign like that, one presumes you did not enjoy the hospital. I am one who definitely has taken my body's input with diligence. Yes, exactly. Dragon watching group of adventurers starting a fire in his forest, raised eyebrow, and then consume adventurers. You've decided the dragon is a mech? That's cool. You can decide whatever you like for your version. I mean, it would be kind of fun for somebody to paint him like total anime style with like, and then, you know, do even like little logos on his wings or something, little speed stripes or whatever. Graphics. Gonna get his little teeth ironed in here. Still have to add the pinkish tones around his muzzle. Shadow Raven afraid of ending up in the hospital for different reasons. Yeah, hospital, I would recommend avoiding the hospital. Whatever your reasons that you might end up in the hospital, please avoid them. Please avoid the hospital. I mean, I know the hospital, like, depends on people to get sick for its income. But, trust me, it's just not awesome. It's not awesome. Surgery is not awesome. Repeated surgery is especially not awesome. I do not want to be there again. Had enough of it. Like, it was getting to the point at one point where when I would walk into a doctor's office, anywhere, for anything, however minor, I would just start getting depressed. Because of all of the crap I'd gone through. So, I'm a little better than that now. Because I've had a long enough time to recover from it, but still. Does he have a rounded? He kind of has a little rounded muzzle here. I think I made it too pointy. This is a really different dragon design. That's why it's awesome. Yeah, Grim. So, he's so unusual. That's why I would not be surprised if he ended up to be one of the best-selling models of Bones 5. He's just, he's a really nice sculpt, and he's so unique, and you can do so much with him. I don't know, you could do a metallic, metallic with gems is going to be really hard, though, because remember, with gemstones, you don't have a magical paint that you can put on to create a gemstone color. Like, probably the closest thing would maybe be the color shift paints. So if you did color shift and you did metallic paints, you could probably make it work. But if you're doing the crystals by hand, you know, with paint that's opaque, and you're just painting them to suggest that they're reflecting the light and stuff, that makes it much harder, because metallic is a realistic effect, and the gemstone painting effect is a faux effect, right? It's like NMM. You're creating an illusion. So when you're going to create illusion with one thing, you usually want to create illusion with all the things, because otherwise, what's going to happen is your viewer is going to look at the metallic paint and say, "Oh yeah, it's metallic." Then it's going to look at the crystal gems and go, "What's that?" Like, it's not going to read quite right, I find. Some people disagree with me, so try it and see. But that's the danger that you run with that sort of approach, is that because the metallics read like real metal, but then your crystals aren't real crystals, it can look wrong. Taking some of my liner mixed with my russet brown to just add in some shadows here at the side of the horns. Yeah. Yes, NMM and gems work fine. You could do easily, an NMM dragon and gemstones painted like I'm painting them. Yeah. 'Cause those things are both fake effects, right? They're both creating a visual special effect, right? So they work well together. That's really what it comes down to, is if you're going to use anything shiny, metallic, glossy, like actual surfaces that that realistic surfaces, you got to remember that across the entire figure you need to be consistent with that if you want everything to look right, at least in my experience. But if you're doing one illusory effect like NMM, if you decide to do other illusory effects like OSL, like like gemstones, like transparent crystal vials, things like that, then it carries, right? Because it's all in the same family of illusion. Yeah, 5 might be a bit much. Remember, Val, and everybody else, a rule that I very much like to quote, but that you can only learn, I believe, because, some people may get different mileage from this, but I believe you can only learn so much from one model. So, if you're going to get 5 of a model, and you're just like, well, I just want to paint that many of them because I have that many color concepts, that's great. But while you're working on all of those 5 dragons, you're not really going to be learning a lot beyond a certain point. You probably will learn on dragon number 1 and dragon number 2, but there comes a point where you really are not going to improve your painting by working on the same model over and over. Every model has different challenges and different things to learn. Putting in the line of the mouth. And when you get obsessed with a single model, you just reach a point where your painting development doesn't really progress for a while. I have seen this happen. There's a painter who, for a couple of ReaperCons, just was obsessed with this one mermaid model. I think he painted it 3 or 4 times, different ways. But he wasn't a real fast painter, and so it was like when he brought it into ReaperCon every year, he'd have a different mermaid, different version of this mermaid. And he just wasn't getting any better. Like, because the mermaid itself wasn't a great sculpt. He just liked it a lot. And so he was like, well, how about this one? And it's like, well, it's kind of like the last one you did. You still aren't, it isn't helping you learn this or that. So it depends on your goal. If you just want to paint a bunch of gemstone dragons to put them up on your mantle, go for it. But if you're trying to get better, it usually does benefit you to work on more than one piece. What you choose to paint is your own decision, but if you have goals, remember the goals. Now, what you can do, and it can be a really fun thing to do, is to come back to a model that you painted a long time ago and paint it again. Like, if you have an old version and you're like, well, I painted this just, ages ago. I wonder how I would do it differently now because I'm a much better painter. And then you paint it, and that can be really cool because then you can put both versions up next to each other on the shelf and see your improvement, which is super awesome. we're getting his face out, guys. It's coming. It's coming. The face is developing. Australian Opal. Yep. Yeah, Black Opal. I was just reading about that. It's one of the rarest gemstones in the world. I was reading about super rare gemstones the other day. Like, unfortunately, I really love tanzanite. I remember it getting popular for the first time. You know, it came out in the 60s. They discovered it in the 60s. And then in the 70s and 80s, it was starting to get more play. But it's like only from a single mine in Africa. And the chemical circumstances that were required to create tanzanite are so unique that we probably only have one mine's worth of tanzanite. So sadly, this probably means I will never actually get any tanzanite jewelry because it's so expensive, because it's so rare, and it's only going to get rarer. Which is a shame because I love the color. Woohoo! Shadow Raven. Shadow Raven. Awesome. Yay! Well, good. If you're in at 15 on my Patreon, then go vote. Go vote for your the next paint along. That should be the first thing you rush and do, because I also put that vote up yesterday. I was very productive yesterday on the Patreon, because I knew I was going to be Twitch streaming for the next couple days on my channel, and that always disrupts Patreon stuff. Slightly. It means I don't get enough, quite a lot of time to work on it. But yeah, so go vote. I put up 6 models to choose between. You can, I believe Patreon lets you vote for more than one. One is a mech, one is NMM, one is metallic. Yeah, whatever. I mean, as long as you're excited about it and you get it done. This is, I would say, not an easy dragon, however. I would say that, like, the temple dragon that we'll be painting, or, like, one of the Rockies, is a much simpler dragon to start with. So if you... Yes, this is a very good buy for dragon, but if you are not... Like, if you're just, like, kind of basic to intermediate level, this is not an easy dragon to paint. Parts of it are simple, but when you get to the gemstones, I mean, I guess the other thing you could do is honestly just paint him like the gemstones are more like rocks, or like something that's not as transparent as crystals, and then it would be, you know, just fine. But most people seem to want to paint them as gems because there's very few models around with gems on them, other than Rock Troll, and so it's an opportunity. A lot of times, though, if you see people running before they can walk, they want to do great gemstones, but they aren't even, like, really sure on NMM yet, and that can make it really challenging and hard, because it really does, you do really need to visualize light in order to do the gems. Sorry, I'm getting his jaw in. I got out of camera. My apologies. Well, Obsidian... Jetta. For Obsidian, honestly, because it's mostly black glass, you probably just want to paint it a gloss black and or a black, and then you suggest certain hints of color in, like, the facets, and then you just gloss coat the whole darn thing. I know that Obsidian is really worth it. Like, this dragon is hard enough to paint. Like, it's going to take forever to paint all these crystals. Don't get me wrong here, guys. It's going to take a long time to do this dragon. So, you know... Everybody's like, this would look cool, but then it's like, well, do you really want to spend, you know, months painting this thing? Because some stones you're just not going to be able to pull off the effect convincingly without a lot of work. I mean, crystal is just like, what color crystal? If you try to do a rainbow crystal, it's going to be kind of boring, I think. You don't actually get the rainbow prism refraction in any white gem except diamonds. So, and even then, it'll depend. It'd probably be more work than it's worth, and I don't think I'd even be able to pull it off, really. Might be able to, but I'm not motivated to. There's some things that I'm willing to put a lot of work into to make them look awesome. And there are other things that just do not float my boat. And doing, like, super hyper-realistic crystals all over a model with, you know, realistic refraction and stuff is not really my cup of tea. I'll enjoy this, and I enjoy the Rock Troll because it lets me put color accents in that otherwise might not appear. Oh, hold on. Yeah, Grim, Rhonda just started her Patreon. I pushed it actually last week. I'll push it again right now. Thanks for the reminder. Rhonda started a Patreon to help pay the costs of upkeeping her blog and the time that she puts into her blog. Her painting blog is excellent. She's so good at explaining stuff. So you could just put in $2 a month to help with her own cost of writing all those articles and preparing everything and putting them up. Or you can pay $4 a month, which is a bargain, to get all of her blog entries in PDF. So you always have them, even if something happens to the blog. I paid $4. I totally am supporting Rhonda in this. I'm so happy she finally made a Patreon. She joined mine to kind of see what I did with my people, with you guys who are on my Patreon, and she really likes the community building aspect of it. So she's considering a Discord. She's in baby steps on the Patreon, so she's still thinking about what she would like to do if, she wants to expand. But yeah, go and definitely support Rhonda. Do help her, please. She's a great person. Obviously, she wrote both of our current Learn to Paint kits. She's one of the great explainers, as far as I am concerned, of the painters in the community who can really break down what they do in a very intelligent and well thought out manner. Rhonda is tops. That's she says herself in her blog entry, as a journalist, she has journalism training, so she's very good at breaking down things. So yes, please do go over. Yeah, this is why it never hurts to talk about your Patreon, because people think, oh yeah, I need to go check that out, and then they forget. Life comes in, and that's why it never hurts to remind people that your Patreon exists, and in this case, to remind people that Rhonda's Patreon exists. So yeah, please do go over, check it out. It's patreon.com/birdwithabrush, and do help. She's really happy with the support that she's getting so far, so she's having a good first month. So please help her keep it up. And thanks for the reminder. I've been trying to promote her here and there throughout the month, ever since she started it a couple weeks ago. Yeah, but Kaporia's got like a real job. Kaporia loves her midwifery job, and I don't think she wants the extra work of all that. Of the Patreon. When you're medical personnel, I don't think you're really looking for another income stream. It's like David. If David had a Patreon, people would be really excited, but David has a real job that pays him really well, so he really has no incentive to start the freelance life, right? Whereas, this is my income now. This is my job. So, and Rhonda also, I believe, is, mostly making painting her job. So when you do that, then the Patreon makes a ton of sense. So I'm just bringing in some more highlights with the Osirian sand mixed with a little bit of my green to kind of pick up some points and details on the top of his head here. And I'm still going to bring a pink in around here in a moment too. But I want to accentuate and maybe clean up a couple of areas that I got a little muddy on. That one got a little bit muddy. There we go. That's better. So I do really like how he's coming out here. So we're spending a lot of time here on the green again. Yeah, Kaporia is super busy. She has a gaming schedule, and she has her real job, medical job, and she does she paints for her own sanity, and a lot of people would not choose a freelance career. It's it can be, difficult. It's difficult to build. It takes a long time to build. My Patreon is still building to the point where I'd really be, where I wouldn't have to worry too much. I'm really happy with the growth lately. The bigger it gets, the less I have to worry. It's doing well enough that I'm not going to stop the Patreon. The Patreon's doing well enough now, and especially with Twitch. Speaking of which, I'm going to Twitch today, guys. I'm probably going to do the skin on 2 other Targaryens, so if you missed the first Twitch stream where I did, because these are Tom Meyer sculpts, they're tiny faces. So if you want tips on how to really paint a face, when it's really small, either for a halfling or for, one of these Game of Thrones sculpts by Tom Meyer, where it's really tiny features, tiny eyes, etc., head on over to my stream this afternoon at around 4:30 p.m. Central. We will be doing Targaryen faces, because I need to get those suckers further along than they are for Jim. And probably also tomorrow I'll do the Targaryens, but then I'll do the black NMM. It was funny that Mocha was doing that the other day, because the armor for the Targaryens is also black. So I've got to do some scale mail in black NMM, which we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I have an idea on how to do it. A little bit more shadow under his mouth there. Yeah, I mean, I have medical needs and I'm freelance, but actually Reaper's helping me with that. You know, doing these streams for Reaper helps with that. It's all. I mean, I can afford health insurance as it stands right now, because you know Reaper is paying me to do these streams, and then you know, like I said, the Twitch helps a lot, much more than I thought it would. The Patreon helps a ton with my day-to-day living expenses. It's different income streams are all piling together, and then the commission work. So the more the Patreon grows, essentially the less commission work I have to worry about, because I like that, because commission work is kind of the unpredictable thing. It's why being a freelance miniature painter was so difficult and kind of dicey back when I first tried it, because if your commissions dried up, then you had a month of, you know, really low income, and you might not be able to do that and survive. So, but yeah, I mean, health insurance is not cheap for sure. When you are a freelancer, you have to budget for that. All right. Yeah, exactly, Shadow Raven. Well, I mean, it depends, right? It depends on how much income you can reasonably expect from freelancing. Because your health insurance probably is going to cost you, through like Obamacare exchanges, it's going to cost you $500 or $600 a month. The way that I was looking when I was looking at doing this, you know, I was factoring that in. In fact, there was a time after my divorce that I had to get insurance through that, because Reaper didn't yet have health insurance. So I do know the cost of insurance, and it's a chunk. But, you know, you got to factor that in then to your income and see if you can afford it. You know, it always helps to do kind of a budget of your baseline needs before you think about going freelance. To determine if you think you can meet those needs, or, you know, if you have savings and you're using that to fuel your freelance career for the first year or two, then you have to figure out, you know, how much you're going to eat into your savings and how much is acceptable on that, right? It's definitely, I mean, it's not for everybody. Not for everybody. And yeah, the real job can be like more or less, you know, can feel secure, although no job is truly secure. I do believe that. I lost my job at one point during my early 20s, a job I really loved that I did really well, just because they're like, oh, we have to cut positions, and you're the youngest supervisor, so bye. So I do not have the illusion of any job being secure, quote unquote, but yeah, you're at least can depend on insurance and certain benefits for not being a freelancer, for sure. There are perks. Well, that, and just not having to do all the rest of it, right? Not having to pay quarterly taxes, not having to take the self-employment tax hit, not having to be your own boss and organize your day and really, really be on top of everything, because if you don't do the work, you don't get paid, you know? So it is not for everybody. And a lot of people try freelancing and quickly decide this is, you know, too much stress, not worth it. Too expensive, you know, can't make ends meet, and especially hard when you have a family or a mortgage payment. Yeah, over 500 a month, Carnico, and that's for a single person. It's crazy. Yeah. Yep, no paid days off. Yep. If you take a vacation, it's got to be a working vacation, unless you work your butt off in advance and get things done, or work your butt off afterward. And that's ReaperCon, right? ReaperCon for me was a vacation, and I ended up having to really bust butt this month to get back on track, especially because I just started a new Patreon level. So that was not ideal timing, but yeah, so it's not. And then on top of that, Cornico, if you're horrified at the thought that we have to pay for our health insurance that much if you don't have your employer helping with it, if you are freelance, you can also be horrified at the fact that if you are self-employed in this country, you lose 20% of your income off the top before you ever pay federal or state taxes. Self-employment income hit. So 20% flat out, in addition to your federal income tax, you are paying if you are a freelancer or self-employed. Which I always thought was, I mean, it's supposed to cover your Medicare or your Medicaid or your, and your Social Security, but we're paying more than a company would, right? We're not getting any deals. So it's a big chunk. So pretty much what, when I was at Viable Paradise, which was the professional writers workshop that I got into a while ago, they're like, yeah, assume that if you go freelance, you're going to lose 50% of your income in taxes. Straight up. 40 to 50%. Easily. Yeah, you get it, Graham. Same thing, right? Over $600 a month, yeah. Yeah, it's expensive. At least we have an option, though. I'm not going to complain, because at least after my divorce, like, having Obamacare there was the only reason I was able to get insurance, really, at any decent price. So I'm grateful that I at least had the option. All right, so there we go. Let's get this eyeball kind of blocked in. I'm just using Osirian sand to block in my lights at this point. I'm not going up to pure white on anything yet. Just want to kind of get this in. Yeah, he's definitely got like one eye that's more squinty and one eye that's wider. So let's actually do some paint plastic surgery and make that one brow appear to be raised a bit here. Hold on, let me get this squinty eye a little bit more solidly blocked in. I do like this dragon. I like working on him. Next we'll do, probably do his chest and get some of those crystals in. And then we'll do, like, we'll spend a day on crystals at some point in the next couple weeks. Just getting the ones behind his head, a couple of days. The one behind his head worked out, and the ones on his chest. That'll be fun. I want his belly to be kind of a pale greeny yellow. So mostly the Osirian sand with some yellow and then some little bit of green in the shadows. And then probably the crystals. The 3 big crystals on his chest will be orange. Yeah, I mean, Dysphamus, the problem is with being a freelance miniature painter, you really don't have that many deductions. Like my chair, my nice fancy kneeling chair, which I like very much, that's on my deductions. At this point, I'm using my Wacom tablet a lot, my old Wacom tablet a lot for the email coaching. So I can, adjust their photos of their work and show them the changes I would make. So now I could actually, I could justify buying a new one because I have the old one. It's not drawing directly on it. It's the old Intuos. So I have to draw on the tablet while I'm looking up at the screen, which is not quite as cool. So I could probably rationalize a new one because that one's years old. But yeah, other than that, I mean, and office furniture. When I hit my next Patreon goal, which is at 1,700, I'm gonna revamp my entire office space in here to make it better, more clean, clearer, better organizational. Just generally, it desperately needs it because I have so little room here, and it's not being used very effectively right now. So I really want to redo it, and that's my goal at my my 1,700 level at my Patreon. So not too far to go. Another $300+. And then I'll be throwing that money into office reorg, and that will also be deductible. So yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm clueless about deductions, but, I had a bunch of miniatures and paint already, and, so it's like, it's not like I'm deducting all the miniatures that I'm buying. I can deduct some of them, certainly. David says I'm probably too honest. I need to just deduct a whole bunch of crap on my taxes, but honestly, as a mini painter, there isn't a whole lot. I mean, I already had a ton of brushes. I already had a ton of supplies. Actually, it's Dave continues to be my accountant because I was still a Reaper owner up till recently. So he's still going to do my taxes for this year, I believe. But, yeah, I don't know. I may get a local tax guy after that. I may not. I mean, Dave has always done a fine job on my taxes, but... And get a little pink on there around his mouth, just like on the other side. Stream the office reorg. You want to watch me pull all the crap off my shelves and dump all my boxes out. Evict Kiri from her blanket, because I'm going to need all that floor space to lay out all my crap to get it out of the inefficient shelving units I've got it in right now. So we've got some pink. We've got a little bit more pink around his mouth here. I think I want that pink on both sides. A little bit down the middle. So we'll make his lip a little pink. Just a little. He doesn't have lipstick. He's not that kind of dragon. But I want a little bit of a fleshy appearance around the mouth. Just a little. It gives a bit more color complexity, and I like that. I like everything not being too straightforward. Yeah, I mean, it's the mixture of the yellowy green and the orange. It's not really, there's really no pink in here. It's more of a pale orange, but the orange has a lot of red in it. It's more of a coral. So so when you add a pale color to it, it does tend to fade out kind of pinky. But yeah, and then I wanted intensifying back here because these crystals are going to be brought up more intensely. We're getting pretty well. Like, he's looking pretty good. I actually did have a little bit of pink on these guys on the other side, so I'll continue that to bring these bits up. Oops, I put a bit of pink over his cheekbone. Throw some water on it. Scrub it off. Sadly, the problem with electricity and internet is, since we use the electricity and internet for things other than my job, and my job absorbs only a very small percentage of the electricity and of the area of the apartment, when you comes to home offices, you really, in order to make it worthwhile on your taxes, you need to have, like, if I had my own office room where we could, like, actually map out the square footage, this is the space I use for work only, you know, that sort of thing. But they get a little bit titchy about that with the IRS on home offices. They've gotten a lot more hardcore on them, and, you know, what you use the space for. And I definitely use this for fun also. So now this computer is entirely my work computer. So when I buy a laptop to replace this one, then I will definitely deduct that laptop. And I do need I also use my Mac for business, pretty much entirely for writing. That one's for writing and for doing my my PDFs and everything. So I do need a replacement on my Mac laptop. So that I will be able to deduct as well. So definitely I don't mind deducting, you know, things that make sense for me. Home office, though, I mean, David and I looked at it. It just doesn't make sense. Now with how little area I take up, and so there are other things I have to look at. Now I'm very happy, I did start a solo 401k when I went freelance, which was nice. Reaper doesn't do the 401k, so I was able to, which I'm very happy about. I like the solo 401k, and it does let me deduct when I put that stuff into retirement, which is makes me happy. I am happy to have a retirement account. So that is a deductible also. Let's see here. I gotta get a little bit of this pink faded out. Yeah, exactly, Image. Yeah, that's what I found when I was researching it. The home offices are very heavily scrutinized. And so there's really, to me, with this such a small area to us, it just doesn't make any sense to mess around with trying to claim a home office here. Now, if we move to a proper house at some point, and I have my own office, and it's, or, you know, definitely, you know, this is used for work, and that is it, then awesome. And I would love that, but right now, not so much. Tiny apartment. Well, not so tiny apartment, but tiny workspace. I want a little bit more blended in up here. Just playing around, trying to blend. Now that I put those the pink around the mouth, I'm just blending it in a little bit so that it's more subtle, like it is on the other side. I don't want, like I said, don't want the dragon with lipstick, but I do want a little bit of a fleshiness around the mouth to suggest that he is organic underneath. He is not a mecha dragon. He is simply, I said this yesterday, but he's like a snail or a turtle dragon. He is perfectly organic underneath. He's just carrying a very pretty shell. I do like this whole blending greens with pinks thing. Blending complements is always fun. Kind of layering over the top of it. Green and pink tend to make gray. But if you put the pink down and then you go over it lightly with some thinned green, you can get both colors still kind of showing through. That's why layering is fun. And it's different from just blending two colors together. So you can give that more subtle, organic look. Oh, I'm 5 minutes over. Yeah, well, I started 5 minutes late, right, Shadow Ribbon, so I definitely, Yeah. Yeah, replacing the Mac is painful. I have my MacBook Pro, and it is my platform for writing. Like, that sucker, I love writing on that thing, so... Whereas this is my old gaming laptop that I stream from, and that's perfect. It has the power I need, and I just leave it, like, I don't use it for anything else. My desktop is my actual gaming machine now, so this laptop is definitely dedicated to work only, so. So really my laptops are for work, and my desktop is for gaming and leisure. All right, so I've got a nice shadow underneath his jaw. I probably need to bring in a little bit more ancient oak down there. There's a little bit of a little wattle under his throat, a little bit of a tendon there that I probably want to outline a little bit. Might make that pink also. Actually, I find that pink and ancient oak go really well together for weird colors that go interestingly together. If you want to do red and green together and you don't want Christmas, try ancient oak with some pretty pink. They work together really well, and they do not look like Christmas. Which I believe I showed you guys actually anyway, right? Because we used that combo on Ship's figurehead, which we'll probably go back to tomorrow. I think I want to do pale yellow-green on the shirt and black with bluish highlights on the corset. So we can block in some more stuff on there. So I do want my nice shadow here. I do want a shadow on the underside of this head. And this is what I do instead of putting a wash on, right? I just paint the shadows in with some thinned paint. And it might even be, the paint I'm using might even be wash consistency. But I don't just put it all over everything. That would totally ruin this effect. That would ruin this paint job. A wash would absolutely ruin this paint job. Because you need to keep this light, pale green. And the minute you put a dark wash over this, you've just blown it. Get ready to repaint. So that's why I tell people, just paint on your shadows. If you don't like washes, if you seem like it seems to you that they just make things look dirty and you just don't like the effect, just paint your shadows on. That way you control where they go. And the time that you waste in, the time you lose in painting in your shadows, you get back by thinking about all of the highlights you don't have to restore after you wash. Bring in a little bit more of my ancient oak under his eye. Oh, that's right. We were going to do a little bit of an eyebrow on the other side, weren't we? So let's do just a little subtle one, then we'll wrap it up. Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not getting any messages about drop frame rates on my side, so assume that it's Twitch being twitchy. So, all right, if we want the eyebrow a little raised here, first of all, we want to widen the eye a little bit, I think, because, yeah, the eye is wider, but they didn't really alter the position of his brow. So I'm gonna lose a little bit of this eyebrow so that I can I'm going to paint over it with ancient oak so that I can bring my, and we're using our our Da Vinci Maestro today. So I'm going to paint a little bit higher so that I can make the white open even more. And then we're going to artificially extend our shadow up just a little bit on this side. A little higher. Now, we're painting a little bit up onto the raised surface here to create this illusion. But a little bit is fine. And I want to emphasize that arch when I put my highlight back in. So let's go here. Then he's going to raise his eyebrow. And we'll bring it back down on the other side. Might need to do a couple of do's on this. We're trying to create the illusion of a slight raise, a slight curve here. Aw, silly twitch. I'm sorry, Cornico. Okay. I'm sorry everybody's having problems. Or at least a lot of people are having problems with the stream. We're almost to the end, so hang on for just a little bit longer. I'm just going to try to bring our raised eyebrow to life here. So we've got that, see that slight arch that I'm trying to paint in. I may have to force it with a little bit of brown liner because the ancient oak maybe isn't quite dark enough. And I want to bring drop my highlight a little bit down to create more of the illusion of that curve. Picking up some Da Vinci Maestros? Yeah. And the Raphael's good too. The Raphael 8408 for big models because that is a bigger brush overall. But I like both. I'm going to just bring in some brown liner to really nail this shadow. There. Now I've got a rise in the eye right there, in the eyebrow. I painted it on. It's a total illusion. Gonna blend that brown liner in a little bit back here. And bring it down around the eye and down in the brow. Yeah, there we go. See, you can see the curve. All right, so, and it is, yeah, like I said, it's paint plastic surgery. It would be better if I'd sculpted it this way, if I had taken green stuff and kind of altered the eyebrow. But I can still go for this. Oh, I went a little bit too far there. Gotta adjust it. Went a little bit too far in with my my pale color. There. There. All right, now I can bring my eyelid a little bit up higher. Let's see here. Everybody talking about computers? Yeah. Always a good topic of conversation on streams. And then I'm going to make my eye a little bit wider on this side even because I put more shadow in. Ah, David's dropping things. Don't worry, nothing. No Kiris were hurt in the dropping of these items. The Kiri is awake now, though.
That's the first thing that happens before the tail activates.
I know, that's why I have to hurry. Alright, so essentially we're just trying to widen this eye just a little bit, guys, so that we can get more of an arched eyebrow kind of skeptical look on his face. See how the arch is kind of an arch there. We're getting it. I think it'll be subtle, but I think I like it, so we'll hold on to it. I don't mind subtlety in painting. I like it quite a bit, as a matter of fact. And we'll just make his eye a little lighter and whiter as we go. So that's a very wide eye compared to that one now. And I can also make this one more narrow very easily by adding additional shading. So we will give him more of a skeptical look. Yeah, definitely. He's definitely dubious now. Yes. All right, so we have the dubious dragon. Excellent. DD. Fantastic. Okay, guys. I think it's time to raid somebody nice. And I gotta run to the store and buy groceries. So, I hope you all enjoyed the stream today. Mr. Skeptical Dragon is skeptical. And he's coming along. Hello, disembodied voice of David, says chat. Yes, so here we are. Like we're moving. Like we're not moving fast. I'm enjoying my time with the dragon. I hope you guys are enjoying your time with the dragon through me. The face is always the most fun to paint, so I wanted to spend a decent amount of time on it. It's going to be hard to paint. The problem with this being the 3D print is that the wings are already attached. So painting these crystals is going to be really difficult, and I'm probably just going to have to rough them in. But we can spend more time on the crystals on the other side and around here and on the tail and back for sure. There's tons of crystals back here. So, yeah, so that's where we are. And, of course, the huge crystals down on the base. There's huge, huge crystals down there, so we can have some super fun down there. Might even add in a little bit of other colors of crystals. Who knows? We could go crazy. I hope you guys had fun. We'll see you again tomorrow. Remember, I'm going to stream this afternoon. I'm going to do Tiny Targaryen Faces at 4:30 p.m. Central Time. And I hope y'all come on over and help me get my stream numbers up. We will see you later. And Justin, who are we going to raid?
We're going to be raiding Jimmy the Brush.
It's Jimmy! All right, cool, awesome. Have fun, everybody. I hope you have a great day. See you tomorrow.
Thank you guys very much. Tune in this afternoon for Proctor's The Crow's Nest. I believe Aaron Lovejoy is our guest for today. We will see. That has been about 80% confirmed, so we'll see. Thank you guys very much. Join us this afternoon, 4 p.m. Central, for that Aaron Lovejoy special. Thanks, guys.